Hey guys, it's Jessie. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video, and today we have a super fun one, very on theme for February and Valentine's Day, and it's the first time I'm ever doing this style of video actually, and I'm going to be sharing with you my favourite romance books of all time, my like tip top romance book recommendations. So I'm super excited to share all of these with you. We have about 15 favourites and about 5 honourable mentions. I thought perfect for the Valentine's season. This was meant to go up on Wednesday and then I had to reorganise things, but today I'm super excited to be chatting to you about all my favourites. We've got a mix of stuff on here, some Kindle, some not, like loads of different types of romance, I guess, just to give you a little bit of my kind of background in romance, not like background as a CV, but just in my personal taste. I prefer kind of like a slightly more heartfelt, emotional rom-com. I'm not a huge fan of like heavy smut. I'm not a huge fan of dark romance. So romance books I haven't really enjoyed that are popular, kind of like Anna Huang and Lucy Score type of vibes, they're not my vibes personally, but you'll see kind of some of the authors. I have got a mix of kind of popular and less known authors, I guess, I think. And yeah, overall just some really solid romances here. I can't wait to continue on with my romance reading this year. I actually think last year my goal was to read a little bit more diverse, but I think this year I want to read a bit more romance. I feel like I read some really good stuff last year, but I also kind of tried to move away from it, but like I do love a good romance. So without further ado, let's just get firstly into my honourable mentions. So firstly I have some Kindle honourable mentions. We have Best in the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is a really cute YA romance. It basically very much reminds me of The Duff. It's kind of like a classic rom-com, such a cute little romance. I think a lot of these you kind of will already have heard about if you're on booktube, but this is so cute. We're basically following Liz, I believe. God, some of these names I do not remember fully, but Liz is basically kind of teaming up with her neighbour slash enemy, Wes, maybe, and she's basically trying to get the attention of this guy that's just moved back to town. She's obsessed with rom-coms, and it's very much following the kind of traditional rom-com path, and it was so cute. And I gave Better Than the Movies a 4 stars, I believe. Then we have Love Like Farms, which I also gave a 4 stars. This is a really cute friends to lovers romance where it's set on a Christmas tree farm and the main couple have to fake date. It is very much adorable. Friends to lovers is probably one of my favourite romance tropes, and this one was just done so well. They had like really strong chemistry and they were just really cute together. I also felt like the third act conflict for this, sometimes I can really dislike a third act conflict, but here that wasn't an issue and I did enjoy it and it didn't kind of stick out to me. And then we have also another honourable mention, which is The 7-Year Slip. I listened to this via audiobook last year and I absolutely adored it. This is by Ashley Poston and it's got kind of like a time travel-y type aspect, which I love. Basically this girl's apartment, she can go back in time at 7 years, and it only happens occasionally, and in the 7 years ago timeline there is a man that is subletting the apartment that she meets and obviously sparks a romance with, but for him it's been 7 years and for her it's like just been yesterday. So if they meet in kind of current times, there's obviously a lot to kind of work out there, and this was so cute. I give this one a 4.75 because I listened to it on audio, but I would love to pick it up physically and be able to reread it because I think it does have potential to be a 5-star. It's just like I never normally give audiobooks quite as high a rating as a physical book for some reason. And then moving on to our physical honourable mentions. Firstly we have Flawless by Elsie Silver. I believe I gave this one a 3.75. This is a cowboy romance from the Chestnut Springs series, and we may see more of this series later on in the video, who knows, but this is basically following Rhett and Summer. Summer is having to kind of like babysit slash be the PR manager of Rhett, who is a bull rider, and he's like lost a bunch of sponsorships for being a bit out there, but yeah, this is such a cute little romance and I really enjoyed it. I think the other one in the series that I've read so far had a little bit more to it, hence why you'll probably see it later, but I really enjoyed this first one. I thought it was a great start to the series, and I know these are super popular. These are kind of like almost, I would say, potentially bridging the gap between, I would say, more of my taste in romance and then the kind of classic Lucy Score, Anna Huang that people like, I guess. There is smut in here, but it's not overly heavy, and yeah, I still really enjoyed this one. Then we have a YA one that I believe is less popular. I haven't seen anybody on booktube talk about it, but I really enjoyed it, and that is If This Gets Out by Sophie Gonzalez and Cale Dietrich, I believe. And this is basically a MM romance between 2 members of the same boy band, and it is just so good. It made me cry at the end. I haven't read this in like 2 years. I would love to give it a reread, but I just remember absolutely adoring it. The story was so wholesome and just so like detailed, and I felt like there was a lot of depth to it, and I really loved it. I had such a fun time with it. This one is very much One Direction coded. Like, it's pretty much Harry and Louis kind of. I think obviously I don't want to get involved in that whole drama. This was just like very much like boy band One Direction kind of coded, and I love reading about kind of like pop star famous romance type of thing. And yeah, I had such a good time with this, and I don't hear anyone recommending it, but I would really strongly recommend it, and I really want to give it a reread because I think it was like 2021 that I picked this up, so a good while ago, and I loved it. Then we have another super famous BookTok one, and that is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I do need to give this a reread because I read it again when I first started reading, so I think I gave it like a 4-star or something, but I feel like if I read it again I would enjoy it potentially much more. This one is basically following January, who is a romance writer, and she's had to go stay at this beach house because of some family problems, and she meets her kind of high school rival Gus, who is also a writer, and they basically have to swap genres, and they take each other out on kind of dates, which are like writing kind of excursions to try and learn more about each other's genres and stuff. And it's just very cute little romance, and I'm really excited to pick this back up again because I think it could be a potential 5-star as well. So I really need to do like a rereading my old favourites / other romances that I read before type of video. Then we have a little bit of a controversial one, which is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I think overall this is very liked, but I have heard some mixed opinions. I believe I gave this like a 4.5. There is a trope at the end that people don't like. For me, it doesn't bother me all too much in fiction because I don't necessarily have the same standards for like fictional men than I would in like my real life, I guess. And also it did drive the plot forward a lot, and I definitely found it very dramatic. Like, the reveal was cool. This is childhood friends to lovers to strangers to lovers again. This is so cute. It's basically over the span of 5 summers. They grew up together. It's kind of my favourite type of story where you're like following people kind of grow up and then they've like drifted apart and then they're coming back together again. So you get like a then and now timeline as well. And overall this was a really good one. I thought the setting in this was super strong. The kind of Canadian lake that it was set at for most of the time, like I felt was really real, and I definitely felt kind of a lot of those strong vibes, which I don't normally get from settings because I'm not one to kind of picture things strongly in my head, but this one like just has like happy summer feelings, I think, so I really enjoyed that. And then finally for the honourable mentions, we have my most recent read out of all of these, which is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. So this is definitely, again, kind of like Flawless, leaning a bit more into kind of the side of TikTok that I don't like, but this one was the hit for me. This was figure skating, like hockey romance, a college aged one. Anastasia is kind of like grumpy but not really, and he's kind of sunshine, very much golden retriever. It's definitely a longer one, and they've got a lot of different kind of conflicts through here. What I really liked is definitely once they started to get together, it didn't feel like they were just breaking up and running away from the problems. I really liked the way that they were kind of dealing with things. Also quite smart heavy if that is something you are interested in. Again, for me, it's not something that bothers me. Only in an audiobook I'll skip forward and I'll usually skim it in the book. It was nothing too crazy, but overall I did enjoy it. I believe I gave this one a 4 stars, but I'm really excited to continue on with the series, and I also think the cover's super cute. So now moving on to my favourites, like my favourite romances of all time. I'm going to first go through the ones on Kindle because obviously I don't have them physically. We just have 3 here. One of them I didn't quite know whether to put in the favourites or in the honourable mentions. I think it would fit more honourable mentions, I guess, but I'll just mention it now. That is Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. This is the only Colleen Hoover that's on this list. I used to love her books, but after reading a bit more I've kind of come to realise that I don't actually like a lot of her male protagonists as much as other ones that I've read about. But Heartbones I really enjoyed. This is also kind of a summer beachy type romance. There's obviously a twist at the end, but I really like this one. This one didn't kind of like ruin my entire perception of the man, which I feel like some of her books have. I won't talk about her for too long because she's so popular and I know a little bit controversial, so I don't want to, you know, bother anyone. And again, you've probably heard a lot of Colleen Hoover recommendations in your time, but one of my favourites from her, and probably the least controversial I would think maybe, is Heartbones, which I did enjoy. So now moving on to the solid favourites, we have the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. Oh my god, these are so good. I read Butcher and Blackbird recently, which I did enjoy as well, but reading that just made me realise like how much I adored the Mindfuck series. This is a dark romance between a serial killer and the FBI trying to hunt her. She's very much a revenge killer, and I personally think very warranted in it. Like, I support women's wrongs, like, you know, go for it girl. And I loved her as a protagonist. I loved the kind of way the story went. It was 5 kind of 100-page-ish novellas, or like 1 kind of 500-page book. I'd love to get the physical copy, but it's just quite expensive because I believe it's still indie published. I'm not too sure, but I absolutely love this series and I cannot wait to give it a reread as well. Every book ends on like a cliffhanger. You literally can't stop reading. Overall I thought it was absolutely fab. And then I also have on here Darling Venom by Parker S. Huntington. This was one of my favourite romance books for a long time, and I personally can't really remember a lot about it. I remember not being able to put it down. It is a enemies to lovers, kind of like more emotional romance. It's following a girl. There's kind of a little bit of then and now, but not too much. She falls in love with her high school boyfriend's brother, I believe is kind of how it's set out, but there's a lot more kind of to it, a lot talking about kind of grief, acceptance, and kind of moving on from things. And I thought it was a really excellent read. I can't remember too much about it, but I remember absolutely being obsessed with it when I read it. I would love to give it another go, but I just don't know when I would, because it's like 500 pages or something. It's a very long romance, but I remember absolutely really enjoying it. So now moving on to our physical books. I don't know which order to go in here. I guess I'll pick up this one just because it's here. We have Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is kind of my biggest surprise of maybe this year so far. I wasn't expecting to adore the Chestnut Spring series the way I adored this one. I still have the rest of them to read. I've only read the first two, but Flawless, again, like I said, it was a great romance. It was a 3.75, but this one was like a 4.5. I adored Willa and Cade in here. This is like the type of grumpy sunshine I enjoy, where the men aren't actually grumpy. They're just like very responsible. He's quite closed off, but like he very quickly opens up to her, and like he's very comfortable with his family and stuff. It's just like strangers that he is a bit more grumpy with. And this has a single dad ex-nanny trope, and the relationship that Willa forms with Luke, Cade's son, is adorable in here. A lot of people don't like kids in books, but I think if they're not written cringily, they can be a really good asset to it, and I absolutely adored Luke in this book. I thought he was so cute. There was like a taken care of when sick scene, which I adore as well. And yeah, Willa, Cade and Luke just make the perfect little like trio, and they're so cute together, and I absolutely adored this one. I feel like the chemistry as well was like coming off the page. Like I could really feel it, and I feel like in a lot of romance books, a lot of the times they're just kind of telling you that there's chemistry without actually showing you, but this one I felt like definitely showed it, and I loved it. It was really fab. Then we have probably one of my favourite romance books of last year, and pretty much everyone's favourite romance book of last year. We have Happy Place by Emily Henry. I could not mention her, especially when I've got the gorgeous like sprayed edges edition. This is following Harriet and Wynne, and they are exes that have come to their kind of friend group's annual holiday, and it's their last one, so they've decided to just pretend they're still together to not kind of avoid any issues. This talks about a lot of kind of friendships and different relationships rather than just the romance. I also felt like the conflicts in here felt really real. The characters felt real. There was no kind of like stupid miscommunication, I don't think, and overall I loved this book. This is another one I need to reread. I definitely want to kind of do some more rereading this year, because I've never really reread a book before. I'm like doing my first reread right now, and I'm having such a fun time with it, so I know I would love to pick this one back up again. Like I absolutely adored it when I read it. The quotes in here are gorgeous. Like everything about this I absolutely loved. The characters felt so real, and I feel like it just really speaks to so many people, so I definitely recommend picking this up. I think it's very much Emily Henry's best work, so yeah, please do pick this one up if you are looking for an Emily Henry recommendation. So moving on to our final stack, we still have a good amount of books here. Firstly, I have two Abby Jimenez books. I found Abby Jimenez last year, and I really enjoyed both of her books that I've read. I'd love to read more of her backlist. Firstly, we have Part of Your World, which follows Alexis and Daniel. It's a little bit of an age gap, high-strung doctor versus like small town mayor, and the small town in this is so cute. I love Alexis and Daniel, and this talks a lot about kind of overcoming being in an abusive relationship, which I really enjoyed to read about. Some kind of like more emotional themes in here, which I also loved as well. And yeah, I thought this was an absolutely excellent romance book. Like it was really solid. I gave this one a 5-star. Of course, I also gave Happy Place a 5-star. I feel like that goes without saying. This one I really adored. I thought this was an absolutely excellent romance. I couldn't put it down towards the end, and there's also a little bit of kind of like a tiny little bit of magical realism in here, like a tiny little hint of it, which I loved as well. So yeah, absolutely adored this one. And following along from it, the second book in the companion series is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, which I also adored, of course. This one I think I gave a 4.75. This follows Brianna and Jacob is anxious, which I think we get some really good rep for in here. And the way their relationship plays out, the way she supports him and they support each other, I think is excellent. We have some fake dating in here as well, and I thought it was just excellently done. So this is a very strong recommendation from me. Then we have 2 recommendations. These are a little bit mixed opinions. I adore them. This is for the self-insert fanfiction girlies, I can't lie. This is for anyone who's been on Wattpad and read YN books. Like, you know, like we've all been there, And these are Funny You Should Ask and Once More with Feeling by Lisa Sussman. It's really annoying me how one of these is matte and the other is reflective, but it's fine. So Funny You Should Ask is her most kind of well-known one. This is following Chani and, oh, it's like a Chris Evans knockoff, but it's Gabe, and he is a celebrity and she's interviewing him, and they did a famous interview 10 years ago where they had like so much chemistry and then never spoke again. And you're having the then and now timeline kind of explaining why they didn't speak, what that weekend was like, and how they kind of run into each other off and on in the years past, and kind of what's going on now. I really adored this. I believe I gave it a 4.75, or maybe I upped it to a 5-star, I'm not sure, but I did absolutely motor through this book. I absolutely adored it, and I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, but I thought this was an absolutely excellent romance. I just love the kind of celebrity vibes in romances for some reason. I don't know why. The one of us is famous trope is just like so much fun for me. I had a great time with it, and yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was so much fun, and I love it then and now. You know, I can't get enough of it. Then I also read Once More with Feeling, which is obviously the same author, Lisa Sussman. This is following another then and now timeline of 2 pop stars. It is a kind of female Taylor Swift-esque pop star with a member of a boy band. She basically is dating one of the members of the band, and it's like a bit of a forced relationship type of thing. And this is on the blurb, by the way, so this is a trope that a lot of people don't like, but I do want to mention it is in here. If you don't like it, don't pick it up. But for me, it didn't really matter too much. But she's in this kind of forced, a little bit staged relationship with one member of the band, Ryan, and she basically ends up falling for a different member of the band, and that kind of causes a lot of issues, which means like both their careers kind of implode. And then 10 years later, I believe, or so, maybe not quite 10, but like a good amount of time later, she is doing a Broadway show which he is directing, and they kind of come back together, and it's just like lots of tension, lots of fun, and I really enjoyed this one. I love the kind of theatre-y aspect because I did do theatre growing up, and yeah, this was such a fun time. So yeah, self-insert fanfiction girlies, these are for you. And speaking of other kind of fanfiction adjacent ones, I thought it's kind of impossible for me not to mention the Queen, Ali Hazelwood. So here I have The Love Hypothesis, Love on the Brain, and Love Theoretically. I feel like in terms of my favourites from her, it goes in that you can't see anything in this order, top to bottom, but they're all 5 stars. I love them all. These are kind of like a little bit fanfiction-y, but they're so much fun. I had such a fun time with all of them, and I just couldn't put them down. I love her books, and we've got a fun little blue sprayed edge there. So these are all STEMnist books, so they follow a kind of woman in science and a man also in science most of the time. I didn't really like her novellas, but these ones I really loved. So this one is Fake Dating. It is a PhD student and a professor in the same kind of area, but not her professor, so it's not like weird. This one we have kind of like Secret Identity Online type of vibe, and it is Levi and B, and they are enemies, but like not really. Like B hates him because she thinks he hates her, but like obviously he doesn't, you know, it's a romance book. And then Love Theoretically I really enjoyed. This is like a fake date's brother, if that makes sense. So she's fake dating his brother. They're kind of like not really rivals, she just like hates him for something that he did in his career. And yeah, I just love this one. This one I feel like is definitely more emotional than the other 2. I feel like it has a little bit more depth. I feel like the romance between the 2 characters felt a little bit more real, a little bit more developed, and like some of the interpersonal issues that the characters had, I also enjoyed kind of seeing a little bit more of. And we got cameos, or we got a mention of B and a cameo of Olive and Adam in this one, which was so cute. And then I have 2 final books here. Firstly, let's talk about the fave. It's such a classic, Red, White and Royal Blue. What a absolutely gorgeous book. I adore this one so much. Again, I need to reread it. This is between Prince Henry and the first son of America Alex, and starts off as enemies but not really, friends to lovers, secret romance type of thing, long distance, like sneaking around vibe. And oh my god, it is so cute. And the movie as well, I know like some of the acting is a little bit cringy, but I adored the movie as well. This is such, I think overall, a very much feel-good rom-com. I just had such a fun time with it. I loved the characters, I loved seeing them together, and yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I must reread it. It's so cute. Some of the lines in here are absolutely gorgeous. I loved it. I love it so much. So actually I forgot, I have a stack of a whole series over there. So the penultimate mention is going to be The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. This one I really really enjoyed. I do really love Christina Lauren's books. I feel like they are very easily readable for me. I don't have any problems getting through them. I often feel like I can binge them. A lot of the time they sit between a 3 and a 4 for me, like nothing too crazy, but this one I absolutely adored. This was a 4.5, I believe. The romance between these two is so cute. This is basically a reality TV dating show where the main female lead falls for a producer, and they have a little bit of something before the show starts, and then obviously they're on the show. They both want the show to go well, so they like kind of deny the feelings that they have for each other. And oh my god, this was absolutely adorable. There was a scene towards the end which was kind of alongside the declaration of love that was so cute. I couldn't get over it. It was adorable, and yeah, I really had such a fun time with this book. I definitely think this, I haven't read Love and Other Words, which I do think I will absolutely adore, but this I think is Christina Lauren's best that I've read yet, and I had such a fun time with it. And then finally, we should probably save one of the faves till last, which we have done. We have an entire series here. I'm sure you guys can guess what it is. Of course, she's the Magnolia Parks universe. Oh my god, I adore her so much. So this is a kind of Gossip Girl-esque drama romance following a group of friends in high society London. You're following in 3 of the books, Magnolia and BJ, as they kind of navigate their on again off again relationship. The love they have for each other, although not the most conventional, is just groundbreaking. And then in the Daisy Hates books, you're following Christian Hems and Daisy, and it's more of a mafia type of romance book. I have not read the final one yet, but obviously I have it, but this series is just stunning. I think out of the ones I read, I haven't read Into the Dark just yet. I think my favourites in this series would probably go in this order, maybe. So I do prefer the Daisy Hates ones. We have The Great Undoing, which I think is the best book of the series, of this 4. Then the first Daisy Hates, the first Magnolia Park, and then The Long Way Home. I know that's a little bit controversial because some people really love Long Way Home, but yeah, I think depends, you're 50-50 whether you're going to be a Magnolia and BJ girl or a Christian and Daisy girl, and I am very much into Christian and Daisy. But yeah, that's such just a fun book. I mean, they definitely cover some more emotional themes, but like, it's just a fun bingeable read. I absolutely adore it. So super high recommendations from me. And yeah, those are all my romance books recs. We had a lot and we covered a lot in this video. I know a lot of these are quite mainstream, but I do just have like a fun time reading romance books and TikTok books and stuff like that. So I thought I would share with you guys a kind of definitive list of my main recommendations. Let me know any of your favorites down below. And yeah, I thought it'd be fun to have all my faves just in one place to share with you. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like down below, hit subscribe and turn on the bell to a little collab. Make sure to turn on all notifications, then you'll be notified every single time I post a new video. And if you want to watch my other videos, there'll be 2 on the screen now to pick from, as well as a link up in the cards from earlier. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.